To be fair, I'm not sure how it would have worked as a point and click. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, I don't know either. But think of everything they made past a certain point. Because let's face it, they were much, much better at the story side of the game than they were the actual gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
They were so much better at writing the stories than they were the gameplay. So, yeah, the gameplay was never great. It was never hugely challenging or anything. It just was kind of bland and kind of there. Even back during the Sam and Max, the gameplay was never super spectacular. Even for a point and click, the puzzles were not to the level of the old Sam and Max game.
Even though the old Sam and Max game didn't have a death thing.
No, it didn't. I mean, I wasn't saying death. I'm just saying that the puzzles were kind of easy.
Yeah, true.
And kind of very basic. The logic was way too easy to follow. Because in the old, I mean, if you remember the old games, you remember that, yes, there was a logic to the puzzles. You could figure out the logic trail behind the puzzle. It was just going to laugh at you about it first.
Because it was Sam
and... come out with something so far out of left field to make everything tie together, but it's still tied together.
It was Sam and Max.
The new
Sam and Max logic.
Yeah. The new series was more conventional logic. It didn't really rely on that whole I mean, the story told, yeah, that fit in the Sam and Max universe. All 3 seasons of it. But the logic that held the puzzles together wasn't really Sam and Max logic.
Oh, some of them were.
Some, not very many though.
Like the bell, the book, and the candle logic. That was a good puzzle. Because you actually had to think, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you had to pay attention, but then you had to think, okay, where am I going to get a bell? Where am I going to get a book? And how am I going to get them to blow out a candle?
Mm-hmm.
And it made sense in the end, but you kind of had to
But you had
think...
to get there first to actually manage to piece the thing together.
And you actually had to remember...
You know,
you had to remember older puzzles, too, because I think the cake, you had to remember the recipe Stinky used to make the cake of the damned.
Even though you didn't have to do much remembering, you just had to remember that it existed, and the characters remembered all the details.
Well, Sam remembered all the details.
Yeah.
I debate Max at times.
Max didn't remember. Max made light of the fact that his memory was about 10 seconds long. Unless it stuck out, then it buried itself into his long-term memory, but that was about it.
Or it involved him murdering somebody in a horrible, gruesome way.
Yeah. And not even then. Not even consistently then. Sometimes that was just a, sometimes that didn't even stick with him. It was too routine.
I kind of wish there was a season 4 of Sam and Max.
I don't. I think they ended it exactly where they needed to.
Maybe, but still, it would have been fun.
Yeah, they left it off exactly where they needed to. Man, that was the thing. They left it off on that whole, Max having his own specific adventure where he got to kill Sam. And then that's it. Which
Actually,
is exactly where they needed to, exactly why they needed where they needed to leave it.
Actually, that would have been a good thing, though. It's like if they did a spin-off game where you actually got to play that adventure, too.
I doubt it would have been a whole lot different, except you just would have switched Max and Sam places.
Well, there probably would have been different entities, different mythology. Like, maybe instead of Lovecraftian, it would have been, like, I don't know, satanic, or...
Yeah.
Like, flip the Lovecraftian and the satanic roles. That would have been interesting, something like that.
I was gonna say, we had satanic roles already. They were in there.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, flip them around, like, it was the satanic role that was the one that was causing the trouble in the third game, as opposed to the Lovecraftian one, which I still gotta applaud him for that. Pulling the Lovecraftian thing with Sam and Max, that just so works.
Yeah.
And old Yogg, yeah, for some reason I can see it. Like, he's like this really intellectual, cool dude. It's like, usually in these mythos, like, he'd go crazy and stuff, but he's like the most helpful dude, and it makes sense for what his mythology is in a way, because he did interact with humans, and he was kind of like the keeper of all knowledge, whether you wanted to know it or not, and if you learned it, you would go mad. So it was like, okay, he's not a sphere or anything, but, you know, it's an avatar. So it makes sense. And he was talking to Max as, like, a weird glowing spheroid at one point.
And one part Total Recall.
Yeah, but it's Lovecraft, so
I know.
It can do that.
Yeah.
I liked that. That made me smile a little.
I liked it too. Don't get me wrong. I liked the Sam and Max trilogy they had. There are other games out there that are terrible games, but good stories from them.
I know, and it's always heartbreaking
Back
when
to the Future, for example, is a lousy game. It really is. It's a buggy mess. The puzzles are boring. But as far as the story they tell, it legitimately could have been the next Back to the Future movie. Legitimately. They told a good story. They told one that was pretty much exactly what you would expect, in line with the other movies. But the game was absolutely terrible.
Well, I didn't play it. Like, I'm not the biggest Back to the Future fan, so didn't catch my eye.
I played it, and I put up a Let's Play of it, including some major problems the game has. Like, there's one, why do we need a dinosaur egg? To turn into the museum if we haven't done it already.
No, I think I already turned it into the museum.
Okay. Then we can just sell it. Unless you want to make more dinosaurs. At which point you would put it in the incubator.
Oh god, dinosaur army. Jurassic Park 6, Stardew Valley Edition.
This time they mew. Let's face it, that's about the only thing the dinosaurs here would be doing. Mewing at you, maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah. They just sound like a small sheep. Need is probably a very strong way to put the minerals. Some of them are nice to have around in case we get a request for one through the bulletin board or something. So, I mean, for example, I just a little while ago, turned in a quest to, that I got off the bulletin board to deliver an earth crystal to Harvey. And got, like, triple the normal sale price for it when I turned in the quest. But as far as needing most of the minerals for anything specific, probably not. Unless you're talking like diamonds or something.
Die, monster! Killed yet another void spirit. Ah. I like their Homestar Runner games because they felt like
the Homestar Runner game was, they largely didn't make it.
That was
the coding. They did the coding for it, but it was largely written and put together by the Chapman brothers.
Which is why it felt like a Homestar Runner episode.
Yeah. Which is why it felt like 5 connected Homestar Runner episodes instead of kind of...
Homestar Runner, the movie, the game.
Yeah, something like that. Especially the last one.
Well, that was where Homestar Runner, the movie, the game, the game.
Yes. Whereas I think it was Chapter 3 was Homestar Runner, the movie, the game, the movie.
No, Chapter 4.
Was
Chapter
Dangerous
4.
3 Chapter 4? Okay.
Yeah, because it picked up right after that. You know, Strong Bad was jumping away.
But here's the thing, just the Strong Bad emails and all the stuff that they put in those were enough to make plenty of game material on. Just the Strong Bad emails part of the site. There's enough lore buried in there to make all of that stuff.
That's like 90% of the lore when you think about it.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I've been getting like on a new Homestar Runner kick because Halloween's coming up, and lately they've been like on par with their Halloween episodes again.
Yeah, that's one thing they've managed to pick back up fairly well is the last couple of years they've gotten their Halloween stuff done.
I don't think they've ever actually missed a Halloween.
I'm pretty sure there were a few years in the time that they were busy doing other projects.
I'll double check that, but that feels like one of the more like they never missed one of those, and they always do a great job on the costumes on that site. Like, oh my god, the references.
Yeah, it's like I had to look up a few of them. They went over my head a few times.
The rapping ones would probably go over like. I'm guessing a lot of Coach Z's went over your head.
No, not Coach Z's, believe it or not. I actually understood most of his because I was alive when those rappers were doing their thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I was too, but some of them I had to look up because I'm not big into hip-hop. Marzipans, I got almost all of hers.
It was more Strong Sads that I had a trouble with, usually.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird.
Strong Sads I think was like 50-50. Strong Bads I always got.
And Strong Bads was the easy one of the bunch.
But he had like some of the best ones, let's be realistic here.
His Beetlejuice. Come on.
His Beetlejuice was great. Oh my god, his Scarecrow Kid. I loved that one.
And I was usually pretty good at figuring out exactly who Strong Mad was.
Strong Mad was usually pretty easy.
Yeah, he was pretty easy.
Homestar always threw me. Homestar always dressed up as something that I didn't quite recognize.
I recognized, I think, more than not than I did. I recognized more than I didn't with the Homestar himself. Especially when it came to things like the strongest man in the world.
That one I recognized.
Hilarious.
That one made me smile. I was like, oh my god, he's really dressed like that?
The strongest man in the world!
And it worked! And it freaking works for him!
Because he got to hitch up his pants even more.
No, and he actually got to wear pants.
Yeah, that too.
Let's see. I'm trying to think.
The cheat was about 50-50 for me.
I didn't have too much trouble with the cheat.
Since he couldn't actually say anything, I couldn't get any cues from him. That's the thing. I mean, they would have other characters make a really oblique reference to him or something like that, but yeah, with him directly, no, I was not catching most of what he was putting down. The King of Town was easy. The Poopsmith was usually easy.
Pom Pom could be 50-50 for me.
Yeah. Because no matter what Pom Pom came as, it was a beach ball with a head, you know?
Let's see.
Although
Homestar was...
the best pom pom costume was the Caco Demon from Doom.
Oh god, that one was good. That one was good. Like, I'm still waiting for him to do a D&D Beholder.
I don't think he can, because I think D&D is a little too litigious.
That sucks.
Yeah, you cannot even mention Beholder in other works. They own the copyright to the name.
That's stupid. Well, Ren said he couldn't make it because he's working.
Yeah, he's working. I booed him. Oh well. I don't think we're gonna have time to replant it, so I'm just gonna pick most of it so it's at a super quality.
See, I'm doing sashimi run today, basically. Alright, grapes. Need grapes for Vinny. Little Vincent. Yeah,
I will probably just sell everything except the crocus I picked up out of that field, too. The crocus I'm using as gifts for people that don't like sashimi. Even though I'm almost out of people.
Except for Kent, Sandy, and Corbus, I have, like, one heart, at least one heart with everyone.
Nothing worth... Unless you want a lobster or a purple mushroom for any particular reason, there's nothing I saw at the cart.
Okay.
You're only at 6 forage? I thought you were higher than that. Dang it. Sorry.
How are you only at 6 forage, man? I'm in, like, freaking, Ed forage. Spook. Oh my god, the spookfish is freaking adorable!
The spookfish is adorable, huh?
Yes, and I stand by that statement. Evelyn, I don't like giving Evelyn fish. I like giving her spoopy fish. Yes, spoopy fish. I've got.
Actually, I'm gonna hang on to the crystal fruit too. Iridium quality crystal fruit.
Oops, accidentally bought a cherry bomb from the dwarf because I was clicking through. I didn't mean to, sorry.
Just put it with the arsenal.
Put it into the mining chest. I can't wait for the next Halloween episode.
Yeah, whenever they get around to actually making it.
Okay, Robin's done. Oops. Well, it's only September, so they'll probably like release it toward the end of October,
Probably.
like they always do. Um. Oh no, my favorite Strong Bad costume though, thinking about it, was his most recent one where he dressed up as Bob from the Twin Peaks show.
Huh. I forgot about that.
That was the most recent one. Because when you like at the end of it, when you clicked on him, when he went, "How is Annie? How is Annie?" I was like,
That's
"Oh
right,
my!"
he did, didn't he?
Yeah, I was like,
I forgot they did that.
I'm like, "Wow, well played, very good, Strong Bad." You
Thanks for
you.
making me relive that. Thanks.
He did it really well. I was like impressed. I was very impressed they did that because I wouldn't like you would not think they'd do something like that.
Yeah, that's not something that comes to mind immediately for them to actually reference. Even though they did do the new series and all.
Well, they reference a lot of obscure things. Like they reference again, they referenced Pete and Pete.
Yeah. But then again, Pete and Pete was kind of the, kids thing from, when they were kids.
Yeah, they're not that much older than I am, are they?
No, I don't think so. I think they're younger than I am by a little bit.
How is Annie? How is Annie? I was like, in the Strong Bad voice, it worked a little too. That's the problem. Like,
How is Annie?
they did it really well. I was
I
like
know.
impressed with that. I did not get Homestar's costume that year though. Like, wait, who the hell are you? You're a baseball player. Okay.
I'd have to
what?
look. It's been too long since I've seen it. I
I just like
legitimately do not remember that Halloween episode.
it was a weird one because
That narrows it down. Thanks.
I mean weird like it was a haunted photo booth.
Yeah, I need to go rewatch it because I legitimately do not remember anything about it.
I like these stupid things too much.
They do good jobs with that type of thing. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. There you are, Vincent. I was looking all over for you.
when you look at it like that, I like to think that's you gritting your teeth as you swing your sword. That's what I think it is. I'm snagging some void essences out of this chest because it's about time for me to start making friends with the wizard. Might as well start that now. Since I am down to 5 people in the town that I have not befriended. Totally.
Once I get a rabbit's foot, I'll start dating the dateable people. And I always do the wizard first because he gives you like gemstones and stuff in the mail, so it's like that's useful.
Oh, I never turned that quest into him. He wanted a void essence. I still hadn't done that. Do we have a ruby left, or do we sell them all?
Actually, if they're working on anything, they're working on like that. They're doing that new Trogdor board game they made.
Yeah, since their Kickstarter was successfully funded.
I am not surprised.
Quite a bit.
I am not
surprised. It's like it wasn't even close.
And they put out like good products anyway.
Oh
so.
Yeah, they put out some incredible products.
And it's kind of cool that they're making like a little like they always play on Trogdor in some way, because that's like their biggest thing.
It's their most meme thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad meme either.
Let's be honest here. That's because it's their most memey thing they ever have. You know?
Yeah, and they love it though.
Oh yeah, they love it. They loved it enough to put it in Guitar Hero 2. I mean, you know. Seriously, you saw that at some point in time, right?
Yes. They're probably gonna put it in that Beat Saber game too.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Trogdor swinging lightsabers around.
Have to swing them up and down to the. That
was something Strong Bad would do and fail horribly. But Homestar manages to do it somehow with no arms. That's a Homestar Runner cartoon in itself.
Yeah, that would be. You know, I wonder. I really have to wonder just how much of the success of Strong Bad that they think would actually happen when they created the site. Because that's the thing, Strong Bad is the villain. He's the bad guy. He's the one that cheats at things, you know? So so they decided they just needed someone to answer emails, and them being them went, you know, we need the snarkiest character we have to be the one to answer these emails, and
well, snarkiest and can actually physically speak.
Yeah.
Because the Carries would have been the...
You know?
Yeah.
That doesn't work for replies.
Yeah, the Chi wouldn't work, Pom-Pom wouldn't work, because blah, 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 blah. You wouldn't...
Yeah. Even though I don't know how snarky Pom-Pom really is.
From the looks of it, he's pretty freaking snarky. But then again, his best friend is kind of the biggest dimwit of the group.
Yeah.
Homestar Runner would not work at all for that obvious... He's kind of the dimwit of the group.
Well, remember, they did have him do emails for a little while.
Yeah, those weren't great, though. Like They
weren't great, but that was the whole point of them. The whole point was to show what it would have been like if they'd had the Homestar do them instead of Strong Bad.
Strong Bad is definitely better for the emails because he
Yes.
actually knows what the hell he's doing.
And then that one anniversary where they showed the whole talk show thing that Homestar had. And then, you know, Strong Bad got his revenge in the end.
Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure everyone cheered, including myself.
Yeah. Apply liberally.
That's the problem, is Homestar is, like... I'm guessing he was smarter in earlier drafts? Cause...
No, he wasn't.
Really?
In all of them, he was meant to be less oblivious, but he was never really all that bright.
Well, things kind of changed.
Yeah.
Because he's very oblivious now.
That's kind of his defining character trait at this point.
Well, that, and he kind of... Like, poor Marzipan has to put up with him more than Strong Bad does.
Yeah. And then Marzipan has Strong Bad hounding after her, too. For completely different reasons, but still, you know.
Although like, Marzipan I'm split on, because she does have her moments where she's annoying, too.
They all do. All of them have their annoying moments.
Oddly enough, Strong Sad does not annoy me.
He does at times for me.
I
The
think
whole
what it...
delete heads thing.
That's Stockholm Syndrome. I think that was the point.
But I mean, no, just the thing he does when he becomes the head, delete head, or whatever he ended up calling himself for that.
Hmm. But I think I relate more to Strong Sad than the other characters, because some of that stuff.
And I like the fact that they actually created the bands that the characters listen to.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that. I love the fact that all of the bands that kept getting referenced, they just decided, you know what? We're going to dress up and be these characters. And
here's
did.
the thing. They even had, like, Sloshy and Limousine play together, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. They actually became actual bands. The quality of the music is debatable because, let's face it, they are not musicians at heart.
That's not bad, though. I mean, I've heard worse.
It's not terrible, but it's still not something you're going to listen to much. Let's be honest here. Their Limousine is very much... I will give them the fact that Limousine is very much on the level of Spinal Tap.
I think that's the point.
I know it is. It's a parody of Mans. And they have the comedy chops to pull that off.
I mean, for God's sakes, they created the Stave It Off guy. Or as Strongback calls him, Stave.
Which one?
They actually, I think, have, like, a couple of songs on for, like, this one character supposed to be, like, a children's or, like, a folky singer type dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And apparently Strongback calls him Stave, which I don't blame him because, honestly... I think a lot of the music is intentionally bad because, let's be realistic. But then they have stuff like the freaking techno song from The System Is Down.
Yeah, that turned into kind of amazing when other people got it and just tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah, kind of amazing is about right.
I mean, like, as it wasn't, anything super special. It had, the beat.
It wasn't meant to be, though. It was just like,
But then other people got a hold of it and actually turned it into something.
I wonder how shocked they were when, like, all of this started happening, because they probably didn't expect their silly little, like, semi-sports, snarky wrestler answering emails cartoon took off. Because that is literally what happened, is their little email sports cartoon took off into something that just kind of became its own thing.
Yeah, it became its own internet thing to where it's opening up for conventions.
I wonder how they feel about that.
They've done interviews where they still can't believe it.
They're just kind of like, what did we do?
It's like, we don't understand it, but we'll take it. Is kind of their thought process. At least as far as I've read in all the interviews and such. It's like, we don't understand it. But then again, the best things on the internet are you never understand why what you created took off. You
That's
just kind of
true.
have to be willing to run with whatever becomes popular. And they did.
And they're actually pretty humble about it.
Yeah. I mean, they have parlayed it into some major networking success and such.
And they treat their property with respect.
Yeah.
Because, let's be realistic.
If you don't respect your property, who's going to? And, to put it in one term, really. I mean, you see what Jim Davis has done with Garfield, and nobody respects Garfield. At all. They respect it as like this corporate marketing entity, but that's about the length anyone will ever respect Garfield for now. And that's because Jim Davis decided, it's all about the merchandising, and went ham on that.
I'll be honest. I have more respect for Garfield than I have respect for something like the Lockhorns, because at least Garfield has, it makes people feel good.
Oh, there are a lot of those, the syndicated newspaper strips that are terrible. Most of them are really, really bad. Because they have to appeal to, a very, very wide audience, and they can't do anything even the remotest bit controversial. Unless you're somebody like Stephen Pastis,
Hold on.
who pushes every boundary known to man with newspaper comics.
Well, Lockhorns is more, it's just such a negative, nasty comic. It's been running for years.
Yeah. It's so bad, it's to the point, I don't know if you know who they are, but they're the group of people like Matt Bors. Have you ever heard of him?
I think I vaguely have heard of him.
Matt Bors, or Tom Tomorrow, or
Does he do... Does Tom do the Tom the Dancing Bug syndicated strip?
Yeah, that's Tom Tomorrow is Tom the Dancing Bug.
Yeah, okay, that one I've heard of.
And also The Adventures of Lucky Ducky.
They kind of parody... Yeah, I think they kind of parody
they are
it.
parody, but they're political in their own way.
Yeah.
But they're largely parodies of other strips. To where they have this... To where it looks like they do this supersized Sunday strip, and one of them is a direct parody of the Lockhorns called Marital Bliss.
That's Tom the Dancing Bug, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of the thing that they make it look like this big Sunday, super-sized, page, just full of comics. One of them has like this sea captain that's always trying to get kids to commit, major felonies and and send him the results type thing.
Yeah, I used to read newspaper comics, but I don't anymore. And the only reason I did was because the college had a free news day. so I would just get it from there.
Yeah, that's fair. Probably really smart, too.
Well, it was to just do something besides studying while I was eating my lunch.
Yeah.
But I can see why they... The thing is, the parodies are funnier than the actual thing, because Lockhorns are just the most negative thing I remember reading. Like,
But Lockhorns was really negative, but then you read the Marital Bliss parody, and it's like the punchline is literally, I'm just going to kill you in my sleep.
Yeah,
and it's still funnier than the Lockhorns because of how deadpan it is. You know?
Yeah.
It still beats the Lockhorns, but the Lockhorns is, spousal abuse, the comic strip.
On both ends, too. Like,
yeah, there's nothing good about the Lockhorns.
Which makes me wonder why it's been running since, like, the 80s.
Because the old crowd will not let it go. It's the same reason that Nancy was taken over by a person named Guy Gilchrist. For years and years and years. And I don't know if you ever read the original Nancy strips. Even back when it was still called Fritzy Ritz. And to be fair, I wasn't alive at the time this was actually going on. I was, I was still, 4 or 5 decades away from being born. But when they introduced Nancy to the strip, she was not a sweet, angelic little child. She was a freaking evil little thing. As evil as you could get away with a child being in the 20s and 30s. She was nasty, she was snarky, she would cause others harm. But, it was done in that way that, it was all adorable. Because, it's a kid being mischievous type thing. So,
even though really she was the spawn of Satan.
Yeah, she kind of was. Her and Sluggo both. So then, decades pass and something, whenever the Bushmiller, I don't know who took after I don't know who took after Bushmiller, but eventually it got handed off to a guy named Gilchrist, who'd done work on like Muppet Babies and stuff like that, and made the strip very, very wholesome and saccharine and boring as hell. But he got away with it for years and years and years. And it was to the point, it was a parody of the original strip, because Nancy was, if you read Nancy in the 90s, maybe even back into the 80s, she was really, really saccharine, sweet.
I don't think they even, put Nancy into the comics during the 90s, or even, I think the first time I ever saw Nancy actually in the very, very, very late 2000s?
Maybe. But basically, Guy Gilchrist drew it, and it was like this big send-off tribute to all the, to a bunch of musicians and stuff that he personally liked type thing. And it was always really, really funny seeing this, this Nancy is about 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, in that range. Seeing her have these big, teary-eyed tributes to singers like, Waylon Jennings or somebody like that, when they die or something like that. Something that a kid that age would never listen to in a million years. Unless their parents play it in the other room, and then they'd go find music they actually wanted to listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, although I was the kid that liked the music her parents and grandparents listened to, because I just
we are talking, the Hank Williams and Hank Williams Jr. and a whole bunch of country music and a whole bunch of just 60s rock. Which, I guess for kids today would be 80s rock. Maybe even 90s. What their parents listened to when their parents were teenagers. But yeah, and it's like you've got this little 6-year-old sitting there listening to this stuff and getting teary-eyed when the artist passes and all this. Like, oh yeah, I'm totally sure this 8-year-old kid would really care about this artist. I'm totally sure this little 8-year-old kid isn't listening to the pop station.
Being the 8-year-old kid that listened to pretty much everything and anything from pop to rock, I kind of have to disagree respectfully with that.
And then the caretaker of Nancy was Fritzy, who, when Guy Gilchrist drew her, was pretty much referred to as Titsy, for very obvious reasons.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he basically gave her a balloon chest. But yeah, recently Guy Gilchrist, basically he quote-unquote retired after they found some sex abuse scandals in his past.
Oof.
Yeah. So he quote-unquote retired, and then somebody else took it over, and they started drawing and writing the strip in the manner that it was originally written, where Nancy is once again kind of close to being the hellspawn of Satan. Good God, the complaints. The complaints from the old people going, well, where's classic Nancy? I want my sweet little girl back. It's like, that ain't classic Nancy.
Classic Nancy was kind of what you're getting now.
Yeah.
It's the inverse of the new Coke problem. I have more respect for Garfield because that one was never really 100% mean-spirited.
It was pretty mean-spirited in the beginning.
And in the beginning, it was more me. Like, I've read like every single Garfield comic because I actually do happen to like it.
I did up to a point. I actually used to have the books.
I just check the website every so often. I like seeing what they do for like Christmas and Halloween and for Garfield's birthday because it's actually kind of cute.
Do I have a sardine? Yes, I do.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But yeah, the original Garfield was just a snarky jerk. He really was.
Even then, he still showed appreciation for John, and he still showed his nice moments, even back then.
Yeah. And I still wish they hadn't done away with Lyman.
Well, they did that years ago, though, so I didn't really grow up with him. So I can kind of see why they did. He didn't feel like he fit, honestly. I mean, they could always just bring him back as like a neighbor or something if they really wanted to. I mean, they did finally get John and Liz together.
Yeah, I still don't understand why they did that.
Probably reader complaints.
And Garfield works so much better without Garfield, as we've seen many times.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on it. It's a good idea,
I just enjoy it so much more when it's just a guy talking to thin air.
Yeah, Garfield without Garfield.
Yeah.
Again, I like it, but I don't like it more than Garfield or less than Garfield. So it's kind of like a tie for me, because I'll admit, I do kind of enjoy the Garfield comic. I think it's cute, and, you know, even with, like, the snarky past, it's still not the worst thing in the world. And where the hell is that kid? Vincent, where are you?
I mean, he used to mail the kitten to Abu Dhabi. I mean, come on.
To be fair, Nermal always struck me as, yes, they're a cute, innocent kitten, but they are rubbing the fact they're younger than Garfield in Garfield's face.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
That's a little... that I would get a little pissed off, too.
But then again, actually, the original strips with Nermal really didn't do anything. He was just sitting there, and he's just this cute little kitten, and all the humans in the place would fawn over this young, fresh kitten, you know.
And Garfield would get jealous.
Garfield got jealous and eventually started finding ways to torture Nermal. So I think Nermal just kind of started snarking back about the whole age thing out of self-defense.
Well, I always like... The thing is, like, because I also own cats, and the thing is, what Garfield does is, like, something cats will do. Like, even now, Pete will bite the younger kittens if they jump on his spot. Even if they're just jumping on it for 2 seconds to get where they're going, because something is in the way of otherwise. Because he's a 14-year-old snarky little cat, and the kittens are, you know, the young, fresh babies, essentially.
Yeah, Starry's the same way.
So, it doesn't feel as mean with a cat only because of the basic fact of this is what cats to do. Also, I got in 2 cutscenes. I got the Sebastian and the Harvey cutscene in the past, like, playthrough so far. The Solarian Chronicles one and the,
A little while ago, I got the one where Harvey contacted the plane.
I got the one where he checked on me with the, checkup. Although I think the comic that went really bad, I heard, was For Better or Worse, was a comic that kind of went weird.
That was never good to begin with, I don't think. It was
Yeah,
kind of like the Lockhorns or Lockharts.
I'd say it's like a level above.
But it's not as mean. It's just a lot more rolling their eyes at the quirks the other side has. But it's still not. It's still pretty much just
No, I heard
two
like
married people that really don't need to be married to each other. It's still a lot of that.
No, but I heard like something like they forgave abuse on one side or another or something, or they gave like a very bad message about it. I think that was the comic.
It's possible.
But yeah, I haven't read a lot of these comics in years. Because I don't read newspaper comics anymore. I don't think anyone really does anymore.
Up until the beginning of this year, since I had a different job that I was way too well acquainted with, I had a lot of free time at work. But then I switched jobs, so, you know, I was just... So I am a member of the Something Awful forums. And there were a couple of threads there. And just to let you know, I became a member of that when I was following their Danganronpa 2 Let's Play that they did on their forums. And the thing is, they had a nasty little tactic where they shut off access to the forums for all the free users at certain points in time.
Ugh.
And since it was, you paid once and you had lifetime access until you managed to get yourself banned. You paid once $10. You had pretty much, you know, full lifetime access to the forums. So I did that just to make sure I kept up with that Let's Play. And then as I was searching around just on other parts of the forum, I found, you know, like, I found things talking about webcomics, and I found them talking about comics, and I found all that stuff. So there was a thread I was following that was pretty much devoted to terrible newspaper comics.
I wonder if Wizard of Ed or BC ended up there, because I think that's the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think the same artist does both of them.
No, those were not the same artist.
Really? They look so similar.
I know they look similar, but those were two separate. Those were two separate groups.
It's like got it from the same book. The thing is, they weren't so much bad as they had like one of them had a religious bend to them. It was kind of weird.
BC was heavily religious,
which didn't make sense because BC is before.
Yeah.
Christ.
Even though we have changed that to BCE.
Yeah, but still.
But yeah, BC. And I'll tell you, my dad, when, way back when, absolutely loved the comic Shoe. And I never understood it.